We're glad to be back again here after Motion is Lotion last year. We're back here trying to catch you up to date on some of the new things that we're going to be talking about. Paul and I want to go through this and our assessments and kind of give you a flyby on what's new and what is the same that is on some of our other DVDs. So Paul, talk about some of these, recognizing the compensations. What compensations are we talking about?
Well, we always go back to basics. You know, you want to go to your anterior and posterior curves first. Well, that's Yonda. Yonda's been around for a long time. Erik introduced it to the massage therapy community a long time ago. Now we're seeing it in college textbooks. We're seeing it in men's health. We're seeing it everywhere. But that's where we start. Anterior, posterior curve. So the first one we like to look at is the upper cross. Erik, show them what the typical upper cross looks like.
Why me? He wants me to show the upper cross.
Because he should have more of it than I do, right?
Hey!
Okay. So there he's got an upper cross.
You know, so upper cross.
So upper cross does a lot of things, and we have a formula that you've already seen probably in our other DVDs over and over and over again. But that's the upper cross is for the upper body, and then the lower cross is the opposite of that. It's just down from the lower body under. So we got the anterior tilt in the pelvis. We have the sway back. We have a lot of, we could have abdominal distension problems from that. There's a lot of things that come from lower cross problems. So that's where we start. And then we start to get a little more tricky and get into the common compensatory pattern.
Yep, these are in our upper body DVDs, and that was developed by Dr. J. Gordon Zink in 1975, actually. He measured hospitalized and healthy people. I think it was some unbelievable 1,700 or 17,000, I think.
Yeah,
people.
A lot of people.
And what he did is he checked the biases along the four major junctions. The four major junctions in our body are cervical cranial, which is kind of OA, AA, cervical thoracic, thoracolumbar, and lumbosacral. That's where the plane of the joints change, and that's where we get most of our dysfunction, is from those four junctions. We've got ascending and descending syndromes.
Yeah, ascending and descending syndromes. This could be something that could be a little confusing. This is kind of, where did the lesion originate from? Did it come from the ground up? We're talking about in gravity now. So if it's an ascending, it's obviously coming from the ground up. It could have been from maybe a one-legged stand, or maybe you stand on one leg all the time. Maybe you had an accident where you broke your femur or you broke your ankle or something, and you had to be on a crutch, and so you stood on the one side, and that started the ascending problem coming from the ground up, which went through the pelvis, which changes the cranium. So we know it's changing the base. So if we change the base first, we know it's an ascending, come from the ground up. If it's descending, maybe it started with the head. Maybe it was from right motor dominance, where you were in school, sitting in a chair, writing with a pen, with your head cocked one direction the whole time, starting this pattern. We're looking for patterns. Where did it start? Is it coming from the head working its way down?
TMJ.
TMJ. If the head's forward, we know that's an anterior-posterior problem with maybe a little bit of rotational pattern in there, like a right compensatory pattern. So we got X legs, valgus, knees. So we see this more obviously in females than we do in men, but this is something we definitely want to address if we're looking for this. We can do a step-down test with females or males. It doesn't matter who we're doing with, to see if there's a collapse in the knee when you step down. If there's a collapse in that knee, what's weak? Abductors are weak. There could be other things that are weak too. Maybe QLs are weak too. But there's going to be a breakdown somewhere. If you have a lot of Q angle already, like in most female pelvises, you're going to have a little more of this X knee than you are in men. But you still see it in men with some low back dysfunction. And then you have Y legs. Well, what's a Y leg? Well, it's bow-leggedness, right? Michael Jordan's a prime example of bow-leggedness. Makes you really quick because it puts you on the outside of your feet. It really strengthens your abductors and makes your adductors tight. So we know that's an issue too. Puts you on your toes, makes you real quick. It's really great for a little while, but then it can cause some dysfunctions not only in the ankles and the feet, but also in the hips. That's something we don't talk about, that acetabular, the size of the acetabulum, how deep is the acetabulum, and what does the neck look like on the femur? Does it fit in there? There's always these variances in the neck. Well, if you've got bow legs, it really pushes that head into the acetabulum in a different area. It can really grind and wear out that acetabulum and the cartilage and also the labrum in there too. I've seen a lot of problems with the labrum. So that's something we definitely want to look at when we're treating these patterns.
We're going to be seeing some people today with both kinds of legs, the X legs and then the varus bow legs like he talked about, and then combinations. Just because we talk about these as if they're always femoral external rotation along with tibial external rotation, that isn't always so. Today in the videos we'll see some variations of that causes a shearing force across the knees that's very destructive. Remember, the knees are really a slave to the hips and the feet. and ankles. So we've really got to correct above and below, and don't just go to the pain pattern. Always look for the patterns. Anterior spring system, posterior spring system, stirrup spring system, and lateral spring system, all started by Andre Vliming. And I'm not going to go into each one of the particular muscle imbalance patterns, but I just will say that anterior spring system, it's causing these crossover patterns. In your scoliotics, you can't just go to the back. You've got to look at the patterns, look at the spring system. What is it coming? What are they coming through? So we're looking at still trying to look three-dimensionally at the body. The body is a circular system, and you have to look at it circularly. Is that a word?
We made it one.
That's a word.
Now we got it.
Okay, so lateral, we're not going to get into that. Right motor dominant, you want to talk about? Ross Pope had a lot to do with that.
Dr. Ross Pope is one of my favorite researchers on this right motor dominant pattern. He did clinical research on hospitalized patients, and I forget the number of it. It was another large number of patients he looked at, but he was looking for a common pattern, once again, looking for the common pattern in the body that he saw. And in our society, the most common pattern we see is a right motor dominance. So what does that mean? Usually it follows with a right eye dominance because right's motor and ears are vestibular. So it would mean that they were right eye, left vestibular. They balance on their left and they motor with the right. They kick with the right leg. They throw with the right arm. Well, that becomes a spiraling pattern that we're going to see in almost everybody. And one of the number one things I like to do when I'm treating somebody is I say to myself, prove to me I do not see this pattern.
Right.
I'm always looking for it. And if I don't find it, then it's usually odd because I normally see it in almost everybody.
Right.
And even in lefties, I'm a full left-handed person. I kick with my left, I throw with my left, but yet I still have a right motor dominant pattern in me. It's just really strange. And we think it comes from fetal development. He wrote an article, Eric wrote a really good article in his volume 1 advanced myoskeletal book on this fetal development, where we think it might come from the third trimester fetal lie, from the rotation in the fetus.
Yeah, Ida Rolf is talking about that. Pope, a bunch of people have talked about that and everything. But the main thing is that it's so much easier to look for patterns rather than just trying to piece everything together. Prove to me you're not upper cross. Prove to me you're not right motor dominant. Prove to me you do not have anterior spring system problems. Prove to me that the biggest movement dysfunction we have is the diaphragm. Our breathing is, Carol Lewitt says it best, our most dysfunctional movement pattern is our breathing pattern. So anyway, we go through the spring systems and the motor dominant stuff, which is all really, really fun and easy to work with. And we get to scoliosis, which obviously is a three-dimensional pattern. We'll have people in showing you some scoliotics today. And doesn't necessarily have to be a terribly dysfunctional thing. Sometimes it's functional, sometimes it's structural. A lot of times it's fixable.
Remember, we're treating patterns, but when treating patterns, we still have to do a lot of assessments. So we just want to show you this assessment here real quick. And these are some of the things we're going to be talking about today on our DVD. So just to reiterate, patterns is the problem, but we want to do a lot of assessment to find the most significant lesion in the body. Where is that coming from? And then there's a lot of cool assessments that we can do standing and table side, where the client's laying prone or supine. So,
right, like this introductory assessment, mainly a lot of this is going to be as they come into the office, perform this stuff. They don't even have to get out of their clothes. I know if you're in a massage therapy format and you usually leave the room draped, when they come in, take them through a few of these things and see where they're at with them. And then table assessments. You get them on the table and just pick out. I mean, obviously some of them you're not going to have to do. If they come in with a rotator cuff problem, you're not going to have to go through the Brugger test for headaches. You know what I mean? So in other words, this is going to be what we're going to be picking out and using on all of our people to come in. They were so gracious to come into Art Space, this beautiful place that we've leased, and we're very, very happy to be here. And I'm happy again to be with my dear friend, my old bro, Paul Kelly. I hope you guys have some fun today.